When Rachel said those words, maybe we should end it, she didn't even bother to lift her eyes from her phone. Her tone was effortless, detached, as if she were asking what to have for dinner instead of dismantling 5 years of us. There was no tremor in her voice, no trace of hesitation. Just a simple remark thrown carelessly across the room, like our relationship was an old message thread she could delete without a second thought. Strangely, I remember the sound of the rain more than her voice. The soft patter against the window filled the silence between us, each drop echoing the weight in my chest. I looked at her, the woman I once believed I'd spend forever with, and for the first time, I didn't feel rage. Just a hollow quiet, cold, heavy, final, then start packing your things, I said. My voice came out calm, too calm. She froze, clearly expecting a reaction that never came. Maybe she thought I'd beg or try to talk her out of it. But I was long past that. This wasn't sudden. This was just the closing line of a story that had been fading for months. Slowly, painfully, chapter by chapter. It began with little things, unanswered calls, ignored texts, evenings spent scrolling through her phone instead of looking at me. I told myself she was tired. Later, I said she needed space. Eventually, I stopped making excuses at all. The silence between us grew so normal it felt like furniture. Dinner became wordless. She'd eat distractedly, eyes on her screen, barely tasting the food I made. Once we used to dream about the future. Now we only spoke about groceries, bills, and the Wi-Fi password. So when she finally said, "Maybe we should end it," she spoke like she was freeing me from something I'd been too afraid to say myself. But the truth was I had already ended it, quietly, privately, months ago. She finally set her phone down and looked at me. "Wait, you're serious?" I nodded. "You said it, Rachel. I'm just agreeing." The confusion on her face almost made me laugh. She wanted to hold the power, to say the words, regret them later, and watch me chase her again. That was her pattern. Pull away just far enough to make me crawl back. Not this time. She crossed her arms. "You're not even going to talk about it?" I glanced around the apartment. Her makeup scattered on the counter, her heels by the door, a half-empty latte still on the table. Her presence filled the room, but I felt nothing. "What's left to say?" I asked. "You've been halfway gone for months." Her lips parted as if to argue, but nothing came out. The only sounds were the rain and the steady ticking of the clock between us. Love doesn't die in an explosion. It fades in silence. It dies from neglect, from excuses, from nights when good night becomes routine and I love you becomes optional. Rachel sat down slowly, her voice barely a whisper. "So that's it?" I shrugged. "I didn't end it, Rachel, you did. I'm just accepting it." Her phone buzzed. She turned it face down, her fingers trembling slightly. For the first time, I saw a flicker of fear in her eyes. I didn't ask who it was. I didn't need to. I'd already stopped caring. There was a time I would have destroyed myself trying to keep her. Now all I wanted was peace. As she moved toward the bedroom, I caught the irony. She had spent months pretending I didn't exist, and now that I truly stopped caring, the silence unnerved her. Maybe that's what people like Rachel crave. The chase, not the love. And I was finally done chasing. That night, she didn't leave. She drifted through the apartment like a ghost, gathering clothes but never really packing them. Maybe she thought if she stalled long enough, I'd speak first, that I'd break the silence again. I didn't. I made coffee, watched the rain, answered a few work emails. She kept looking at me from across the room, unsure if she wanted to apologize or start another fight, and that was us, two strangers standing in the ruins of what used to be love. She finally broke the silence. "So, you're really not going to say anything?" I looked up from my coffee. "I've said all I needed to." Her eyes glistened, not with sadness but disbelief. For years, she'd been the one in control. She chose when we talked, when we touched, when we fought, and when we made up. And every time I surrendered that control, mistaking my patience for love. But patience isn't always love. Sometimes it's just distance pretending to be understanding. She sat across from me, her voice smaller now. "So that's it? You're just going to let everything go?" "I'm not letting it go," I said quietly. "I'm just letting myself be free." The silence that followed stretched so long it felt like time had forgotten to move. Then she gave a short, bitter laugh. "You think walking away makes you strong?" "No," I said. "It just means I finally stopped begging to be loved." She stared at me then, really stared, as if seeing me for the first time. Maybe it stunned her to realize that calm doesn't mean weakness. It means clarity. The truth is, people like Rachel don't know how to handle peace. They expect endings with shouting, chaos, or tears. They feed on drama. It makes them feel seen. But when the storm meets silence, it's the silence that wins. Rachel snatched up her phone, scrolling fast, her expression shifting between guilt, panic, and anger. "You must think you're perfect," she snapped. "Not even close," I replied. "I've just learned that love doesn't make you someone's option." Neither of us spoke for a long time. The air between us grew heavy with everything we'd never said. Around midnight, she zipped her suitcase. "You'll regret this," she muttered. I didn't respond. The door closed softly behind her. No yelling, no slamming, no grand goodbye. Just a quiet click, the sound of something that had ended long before that night. For the first time in months, I could breathe. The apartment, stripped of her noise, felt lighter. No more hollow apologies, no more late-night excuses, just stillness and peace. A week later, she texted me. "I didn't mean it like that. I just needed space. I read it once. Then again. Then I deleted it. Because space was exactly what she'd given me, and for the first time, I was learning to use it. That's the part no one tells you about healing. It doesn't always come with tears or closure. Sometimes it comes quietly, when you realize you don't miss them. You miss the version of yourself before they made you feel small. I started going back to the gym, cooking again, reconnecting with old friends. My life didn't transform overnight, but each day, the weight of her absence felt less like grief and more like freedom. 2 months later, I heard she was seeing someone new. I didn't feel jealous, not even curious, just relieved. Relieved that I no longer had to prove my worth to someone who never saw it in the first place. Sometimes endings don't need closure. They only need acceptance. When I think back to that night now, I don't remember her words as much as my own. "Then start packing your things." It wasn't revenge. It wasn't pride. It was peace disguised as a sentence, and in that moment, I understood something vital. You don't lose people who truly love you. You only lose those who were never meant to stay. That's not heartbreak. That's clarity.